They're the world's most fearsome fighting team.
They're heroes in a half shell and they're green.
Where the evil Shredder attacks.
These turtle boys don't cut 'em no slack.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Heroes in a half shell.
Turtle Power! Welcome everybody to PCP Movie Night. Welcome everybody to PCP Movie Night, the grand finale of ActionFest. Tonight, we're wrapping it all up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. We're talking about the 1990 film. We're talking about Secret of the Ooze, Turtles in Time, the 2007 animated film, and yes, the ones produced by Michael Bay. I am excited. We got Jelani. What's up?
What's up, man? Good, great to be here. Great Ninja Turtle action going down tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Verno, welcome.
May I be the first to say, Cowabunga, my friends.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga.
Speaking of Cowabunga, what's up, Mark? How you doing?
I love being a turtle.
Hell yeah, man. And we got Joe Corallo, of course. What's up, Joe?
Not much, just no anchovies.
Yes. Yeah. That's the one thing. What's up? One thing. Speaking of the one thing, Brooks is here. What's up, Brooks?
So, I was so proud, man. We got through that intro.
I was
sure somebody was going to stumble. Somebody's going to fuck it up, but we did
it. You were worried about me, weren't you?
We did it.
Yeah, I'm proud of everybody. So that's what we're talking about tonight is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, the live action films, and the one animated film. I know Mike wants me to say that everybody should check out the Rise of the TMNT animated movie, but we're not covering that. Mike knows the people that did the music, so.
Yeah, I mean, the music's fine, but
I'm sure the music's great.
Trash.
I'm sure the music's great. Anyway, so we're going to get into this, but first, real quick, one-word answer from everybody in the chat, and thank you all for being here. Station, pop, pop, boom. A one-word answer, your favorite turtle. Jelani?
Raphael.
Verno?
Oh, man. After watching these,
Michelangelo. More than one word, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Michelangelo.
What about you, Mark?
Donatello.
All right, Joe,
Leonardo.
Brooks,
Donatello.
and I'm Michelangelo. So hell yeah. All right, no Raphael.
I'm Raphael.
Yeah,
That's why I needed another
Oh,
word.
yeah,
Growing
that's
up, it was
right.
always Raph. It was always
Oh,
Raph.
it's Raph is the best. He takes it up a notch in every alliteration of these films. He's like the cornerstone. He's the anger. Yeah,
Well,
I
it
love Raph.
depends on the perspective of the viewer. All right, I would say that Michelangelo's the cornerstone because he's the heart of the group. Anyway, and by the way, spoilers, he is the last Ronin. Anyway, so we're just gonna say this: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, a fantastic comic book, started the black and white indie explosion in 1984, whatever. It really started blowing up in 86. In the 80s, they hit their peak with the Cerebus issue, where they hit over 100K, right? Like, comic books would kill people to make those numbers on a regular basis today. You know what I'm saying? Like, on average, right? This is an indie comic that they self-published and made at Mirage Studios. I love the comic. I've met Kevin Eastman, so has Jelani. Brooks, you met him too, right? Yeah. Super cool dude. And I love the Turtles. And so after having that weekend experience here at our con with Kevin, I was like, we got to do Turtles, and we got to do Turtles soon. I read through all the Eastman and Laird stuff, and I was like, we're going to wrap up Action Fest with Turtles. And so I was very, very happy to go through this franchise. So we're going to get into it tonight, the nitty and gritty. But overall, I think the franchise is the movie franchise is quite shaky. But I do like it, and I do enjoy going through it. So overall, Jelani, real quick, what do you think about the franchise as a whole?
Yeah, it's a little lopsided. You got your really good ones, you got your trash, and you got, your halfway decent, middle of the road movies. And they're all consistent. So, it tells the story of four brothers and their father who's trying to fight this big evil. And it's good. I think it's a clean concept. It's a concept of family. Vin Diesel would be proud.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, it's a great action. It's great action. Well, not all the time. It's inconsistent in some of the other ones. And the CG and the Bay ones are good God.
Yeah.
But
well, we'll get
other than that, yeah, overall it's a decent series. And plus we got Ninja Rap. You can't fail Ninja Rap.
Vanilla Ice, that's canon, baby. That's canon. He's a character.
Yep.
I pitched Kevin Eastman my idea that Vanilla Ice should have been the villain in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 3. Right, but anyway,
he's the
Verno,
Iceman.
the Iceman cometh. Verno, what do you think about the franchise as a whole?
The best way to put it was lopsided. It's top heavy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That was my experience. Half of these movies I've only seen once, and then the other half I've seen 1,000 times. But I hadn't seen any of them in a while. It'd been at least 5 or 6 years. So, there's highs and there's some lows, big time. But we're due for something good. That's what I'll say. We need something to come out and throw away the last couple that we got, start over, and we're due for something really good.
Yeah, just put some dudes in fucking rubber suits again. I think we can make that magic happen. I don't know. Mark, I think rubber suit technology has increased. Mark is an expert on rubber, but that's not why he's here tonight. Mark, what do you think about the franchise overall?
I was actually making that joke with my wife the other day about rubbers.
What?
Nice.
No, from when I was on the channel ages ago, and I said rubbers, and you lot were like, "What the hell?" And we were just laughing about the differences between, like, you guys call rubbers magnums as well, and we have an ice cream over here called Magnum, and
that's right.
And we were just laughing about the different words that British and Americans have, and it's just we speak the same language, but do we really?
Like, for instance, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Yeah, we had them as Hero Turtles.
Yeah.
So we didn't have
because you can't have ninjas and you can't have nunchucks. That sucks.
I think it was because they deemed that ninja was too violent or something. So we grew up with Teenage Hero Turtles until the movie came out. So we had the cartoon a couple of years before the movie. And so then when the movie came out, it was a bit of a shocker. It was like, well, where's this ninja word come from? You guys all sort of summed it up really, top heavy. I really regretted when I did the movie run through, rewatching everything, that I did it in the order they were released. That was a mistake on my part. I
started with the Bay ones, which I'd never seen. I started with those.
It's got it over with.
I think Band-Aid off. That's the way to do it.
I wish I'd have done it the other way around. But no, you know what? As a franchise, you've got to think this is quite an amazing franchise. Like, you've got obviously the animated series, the TV series. I don't know if you guys knew as well. I don't really watch the TV animated series, but they had the crossover episode where they crossed over the 80s and the 90s TV series.
Yes, was that episode. TMNT Evolution or Mutation or something? I don't know.
But they also had a bit where they showed up and they brought out the Mirage Studios comic strip, and they brought those into the episode as well. So, and then they had the Teenage Mutant live action TV series, which also crossed over with the Power Rangers. I just think it's just a fantastic franchise overall. I know we're not talking about any of those, but just I love all the movies, really. I know there's some bad ones there, but I love that we just have them here. I think we should sometimes appreciate, as fans of something, that we get to see more of it, where sometimes there are just brilliant franchises out there that just get neglected and put on a shelf. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to have shitting on legacy in the house when we're talking about one of these franchises, because you always play a solid role in that. Anyway, speaking of shitting on legacy, Joe, what did you think about the franchise as a whole?
Sure. The movie franchise, for me, it's kind of similar to the Halloween franchise, where like the first one was a game changer, and then more movies happen. To various degrees of and some of them are like, it was pretty good, and then some of them are like, ooh, I don't know about that one. Yeah. So I feel like the Halloween franchise probably mirrors it more closely than other franchises, and it's certainly different from the video game franchise of Turtles, because no one's like, the first game's great, and then after that, I don't know. But
well, the first game's good because that one has replayability, because nobody's beaten that shit yet.
No, exactly. I'm a big fan of Manhattan Projects. Was probably the third one on Nintendo. That was my favorite.
That was the one that was only on Genesis, I think.
No, they did a version of it on Genesis. It was called something different, but Manhattan Projects was TMNT 3 on NES.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be that guy, Brooks, but
yeah.
I have the
heist with the Genesis one.
I have the novelization of the fucking TMNT movie, so don't question.
I used to have that too.
I used to have
good
that
book,
way back
better than movie.
Yeah, I once read the novelization of Mega Man 2. So
does it tell you which order to go in?
I believe they did have a specific order, but I'm not sure it's the order you really should go in.
It was like any kid reading this book is screwed trying to play this game. Anyway,
because you can take that bitch Bubble Man out anytime. Who cares? Yeah.
Nice. So yeah. All right. Speaking of acetates, Brooks, as a whole, having rewatched and revisited this franchise, what do you think about it as a whole?
Well, there's only two movies in this franchise I would consider good. And the rest are just varying degrees of not some are bad, but even at their worst, I don't think they're really terrible. They do have a certain entertainment value to them. I guess my attachment to the characters helps a lot. If I didn't know shit about the Ninja Turtles and I watched this movie, I'd be probably all of them except the first one are garbage.
We're all closer to 40 than some people may realize, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that dude. When I was coming up as a kid, Ninja Turtles was the thing. I was there during the height, right at the beginning of the hype of Turtle Mania, when those first Playmates figures hit the stores. I was there. The trenches.
Yes.
Collect all four. Got to get Splinter too. Oh, you got to get Casey Jones now.
What about Shredder?
Got to get
April?
Shredder, Bebop,
might as well
Rocksteady.
get April. Good luck finding a fucking April.
No, there was
I had April when I was a kid. I had April.
I still don't have fucking April O'Neil.
I have April O'Neil now. I got it in January. I found it at a store in Nashville in January. I am 43 years old. I have never had an April O'Neil.
Yeah, I've never had one either. I got to get one before 43. I got to beat you.
It was this year.
I got 2 years to fucking do this shit to beat your ass. All right, I got to do it. All right.
I got
All right.
April.
Let's break them down. All right. So what we're gonna do is like what we do on these franchise reviews. I'm gonna ask you your overall thought and your rating. Just deliver it all at once so we can get through. But first, we're going to talk about the original 1990 film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, directed by Steve Barron, with a screenplay from Bobby Herbeck, Todd W. Langan, and Eastman and Laird were on set a lot. Very much an adaptation of the comic book. It was controversial at the time because people said it was too dark, too violent, and they're like, well, did you read the book? They're like, do you know it's a fucking animated cartoon? That's a huge sensation. So, but I remember being a kid watching this film, y'all, and being like, dude, Raphael said damn like 3 times in this movie and thinking it was so badass. I was like, I remember exaggerating. It's like, yeah, Michelangelo's like, yeah, there better not be any anchovies on that fucking pizza, man, or I'll kick your ass. It's not that deep. It's not that heavy. Speaking of deep and heavy, Jelani, overall, what do you think about the first film? What do you rate it?
Well, first film, I will love till the day I die because I saw that in the theater as a young child, and I was excited for some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was the year I was in. I think it was 8th grade, 1990. I was in about 8th grade, and man, just watching that in the theater and Secret of the Ooze on top of that. You know, because they came like within a year of each other, almost a year of each other.
Yep.
But watching them so soon, I was a huge fan, man. I love this film. I love the cast. I love Raphael's my favorite character because of that film. Like, I made a film ahead of Raphael and like drew a big picture on a poster to meet a Raphael at our mall, and I was like so excited, and I missed Raphael. Took me like a day and a half to make that drawing. I was sad. But anyway, because of that nostalgia bubble, I still give it a 4 or 5. I'm very impressed that it's an indie film, that it tells such a compelling story. It's a good story about family. I really was worried about Splinter through most of it. You know, just little nuances and things. I love April O'Neil as character. Judith Hogue is amazing. But she left the series after this because, you know, violence issues. She was worried about it being violent too. And I was like, you missed out, girl, because that's what you know for. You April O'Neil.
Right.
So it's just, you know, it has its things. It has its quirks that I have, but I still love it from the day I die to the day I die. It's a 4 or 5.
Wait, from the day you die to the day you die? So that's
the
very
day I
short.
die.
That's one day in your life you'll love this film. It's the
That's
day
right.
you die.
Whole day is the day I die.
I mean, it's kind of like taking that whole adage of live every day as if it's your last, live every day loving Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, 4.5, that's respectable. What about you, Verno?
I'll start with the rating because I'm with my man Jelani. I'll go 4.5, and it's. I'll just say, like, when I put it on this time, I was blown away by the costumes. I've seen these costumes my whole life, but just like after watching a lot of 80s horror movies and stuff like that recently, this is like Jim Henson, and the production company behind him is crazy how good they look, and the fact that they're functional. It'd be one thing just to have them look that good, but the fact that they're actually moving, kicking, and ninja-ing in the costumes is super dope. It's got the best. It's funny because after watching this, it reminds me of the Lethal Weapon franchise in the way that the first one's the darkest and grittiest, and then it gets funnier kind of as it goes and a little bit more action heavy. But
you just wait until Mark tells you Out of the Shadows is his favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah.
It's going to blow you away.
When you look at the job that they did, everything they did, they told the origin of the Turtles, the origin of Splinter, tied it in with Shredder, the relationship between the Turtles themselves, the relationship with April and Casey Jones. Like, the movie almost writes itself. It's like, here's all the jobs you got to do, but it doesn't always work that well, as we'll see later when they do an origin and they try to do a similar thing. Like, it's super impressive how well it holds up. There's cheesy moments here and there, but for the most part, it's timeless for me. And I will love it till the day Jelani dies as well.
Thank you.
And after that day, you're like, fuck this movie. All right, Mark. In fact, that's what we'll all do at Jelani's funeral. Hopefully that day never comes, Jelani. We want you to be here for a good long time. Mark.
Maybe you could put it on at Jelani's funeral, have it on there.
we all watch it. It's like, this is the last time we can enjoy this movie.
It sucks.
Mark,
Who
what do you
knows?
think?
I might outlive all of you.
Mark, we got two 4.5s. What are you thinking?
5. Okay, I'll give it a 5. That's it, I'm done. No, I'm not joking. No, I love this movie. Do you know what? I was like, the music as well is just so amazing. Like, I just, that was it. Is it John Free? Is it John Free? Did the music of this. Like, I love it. I love it all. Just the tone of it.
Yeah, John Dupree did the music in the first 3.
Yeah,
but they didn't use a lot of it because it's filled with soundtrack music.
Right? Yeah, but like I love his music as well. But anyway, I love the style of this movie. But I say what I like is how they have elements of it where they allow it to breathe, like character development. That kind of got less and less as time went on. But in this movie, there is action. There is like you get to see the sort of I think just quiet moments. Like I love the scenes with like Raphael and Casey Jones and. They interweave action as well with story as well, and there is sort of elements of humor. But I think it's actually a really good, solid origin story. But you're not just caught up completely in origin; it has a whole story from start to finish, and they don't, as well, do the stupid thing of sort of killing off the main villain, which a lot of big movies used to do, kill off the main villain.
Well, they do kill off the main villain. He just happens to survive in the garbage heap like 6 months later.
Yeah, they did it in a way in which there's no actual body. It's always, you know, the Raw movies. If there's no body, are they really dead? But anyway, no, I think this movie, it's like my childhood. Like was rewatching this movie, and I'm just like remembering all the words as they're going along. Like I was like saying the words as they come going along, and I was like, I literally can't believe I haven't forgotten any of this movie. As it's, you know, I'm 41, and like, yeah, I was like 9 or something when this came out. So, but yeah, no, I literally remember all the words that's going along. I'm just like, I used to have the picture book like you did, Robbie. Like, I used to have so many toys. Like Donatello, I had Samurai Turtles and everything. Just this is like out of all of the movies that come. This is my favorite movie out of the whole of the Turtle franchise. I don't know, I love it all. You know, some of my favorite scenes as well, just like the Raphael where he's having the fight on the roof, and at the same time April's giving a tour of the shop. I just love how they interweave all of that, and you just see like Raphael, like I don't know, because he is like the badass of the team, like, and I just love him sort of handling the whole foot, and then eventually comes crashing through that roof. And then I love that we actually get to go away from the action and see the team rebuild themselves before they go off and save Splinter. Yes. I don't know, it's great. And then at the end as well, like where they're taking on Splinter one at a time, and in the end they realise they have to handle them as a team. So this again ties into that whole origin story of they realise they have to just fight well together. Like,
Shredder. Yeah.
Shredder, sorry.
You confused me at first. I was like, what movie did he watch?
No, Shredder, sorry.
I wonder how many times someone has said Splinter when they met Shredder and vice versa, because I know I've done it a million times.
Yeah, at the end where they're fighting Shredder one at a time, and then eventually they realise they've got to take him as a team. And this is where kind of Splinter's been pushing that toward, sort of driving that home throughout the movie, and then they do obviously team up and figure out that they have to fight together as a team, basically. So yeah, I don't know, I just love it all.
It feels like they learned that lesson in every movie too, to varying degrees of success. All right, Joe, what do you think about the first film? What do you rate it? We got 4.5s and we got a 5. Where are you at?
Sure. Before anything, though, I have to say I have never said Shredder instead of Splinter in my life because I'm a real fan. But
Joe
I don't know how it's like with the Hero Turtles, but with the Ninja Turtles,
like, I don't know what it's like across the pond or anything. But anyway, so no, I multiple factors in here. I think I have to give it a 5. It's not a perfect movie, but it's all the other factors because there was no shortage of trying to make cash grab movies like beforehand or like trying to ride the wave of what the kids liked. That never came anywhere close to this. Even a few years later with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie didn't come close to in terms of being like the box office success adding to the momentum of the franchise. Like this first movie absolutely just added to the momentum of the cartoon. So just all of those factors in it. But yeah, I mean, one of the first like glaring things that pops out to you when you watch the movie, maybe just me, is the cops are there. It's a crime scene. And April's just like, I'll just take this side. No one's going to notice. I'm just going to slowly put it in my bag while the cops are like standing over me. And they'll just be like, yeah, this is fine.
And that's the one thing. That's the one clue is like, ooh. Like, she didn't have to fingerprint it or nothing. She just had it. I don't know.
But all of it, and it's so low budget, but they make it work. And you don't even think about that when, like, you know, when you're a kid. I got to see it in theaters. I remember my dad took me and my friend Andrew to see it. And there were so many moments in it that are just in my mind, like just forever. Like, I remember just all the excitement throughout it. That moment at the end when Casey Jones just goes, oops, like very loudly as he's murdering Shredder. Like, I thought that was incredible.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But like that was incredible to me. The music, like it was like burned in my mind. The music when the building's burning down and when they're fighting Shredder on the roof, that music and how intense it was helps to like, because like I mean the choreography's fine, but like that and the way it's shot and edited really helped sell these guys in clunky kind of costumes trying to fight Shredder, you know? And what was it? That's kind of how you know, I think we all learned to love Technotronic. I know they went by like another name or whatever with you know, when they did some of the songs in that, but yeah, so much like, and it was gritty, I guess, but like was, you know, you watch it as an adult. I have gone to I went to a screening, like a midnight screening at Sunshine Cinemas in Manhattan in like 2014 or 2015. You know, and yeah, it's like you watch it and it's like sure, it's like dark and gritty, but like, is it with some of the stuff going on? It's like how people would talk about how Batman and Batman Returns were so dark and gritty, and you watch them now and you're like, are they? You know, but no. So there was just so much to enjoy in the movie. How again, the costumes, everything, Splinter, like all of it works, and they sell it. It's good enough on that budget where you never, like as a kid, I never was like, that's you know these are guys in suits, but at the same time you don't like question it. You're like that works. You know, and ultimately it's a scathing indictment of the Dinkins administration. So.
Oh,
it is
because New York was shit then.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. So it's like really like.
Well, the city feels so dirty and lived in, unlike any of the other films. The other films get more glossy, more bright. It's dark cinematically, right? Yeah. And I can see why parents in this Nancy Reagan fucking era were like, oh my goodness. Like clutching their pearls at fucking Ninja Turtles. They were, let's cancel Ninja Turtles, goddammit.
This came out at the peak of American crime. Like I looked into it. Like from the 60s to this year was like crime was on a steady increase. And like you could feel it. This was the highest crime that America had ever seen the year this came out. I thought it was interesting.
Oh yeah.
That make 1990. Yeah.
No,
I remember it well.
Crazy. Yeah. But the one thing too about this movie is, unlike the other movies, it feels like if there wasn't a Ninja Turtles franchise, if this was just like a random kind of movie, it could like stand on its own. If this was like some random trauma movie that wasn't tied to anything else, like you could put this on, watch it, and enjoy it like for what it is. And I think that helps make this one in particular kind of feel a little special. over some of the others with even without nostalgia and other things. You're just I could imagine watching this with you would never be able to find someone who has never heard of the Ninja Turtles, but like if you found someone who was completely unaware and just treated it like, oh, have you seen this like indie movie came out in like 1990 like Turtles, and put it on, that they could get like a kick out of it like without any of the context.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. All right, man. So 4.5s up top here so far, and then 5s below. Brooks, where are you taking us, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give this one a 5, man. This movie has a lot of like, it means a lot to me. It was one of the first VHS cassettes I ever owned because my parents did not buy many movies on VHS because back in the day it was like cheaper just rent it, and then you didn't have to like just keep it around. You just take it back. But this is one like I begged them until they finally got it for me. And I remember watching the Shells movie, and watching it again, it holds up pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got the perfect kind of balance of like the kind of dark, gritty nature of the Mirage comics mixed with a little bit of the 80s cartoon. But like because you'll have a scene where Michelangelo pops up out of a manhole like this. And then you'll have a scene where Shredder's beating the shit out of Splinter, who's tied to a fucking wall. And it's like out of all, it's the one that's the most. It has like a kind of a deeper theme to it with the whole fathers and sons thing, because there's 3 sets of fathers and sons in this movie, and each one has like kind of a different thing. There's Splinter and the Turtles, there's Shredder and his Foot Ninja, and then there's Charles and Danny. And like it's all like how a father's actions affects their children. How like a loving father like Splinter, him being taken away is like it just destroys their world. They're just like they're totally down after that until they manage to talk to him through the spirit realm or whatever.
Force.
Yeah, but this movie like it's just in the the movie like dun 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 dun. Man, I was like, I couldn't not give it a 5. Like, it's just impossible, dude.
Yeah, it's cemented in our childhoods, right? So I'm right there with y'all below. I'm going 5, man. I got to break away from my brothers above, man.
You know
gotta
what?
say, but hold on, Jelani.
Oh.
You try and change your goddamn score to appease somebody.
No, I'm gonna do 4.
Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna change to a 4 now.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna give it 5. I think that this movie is rather phenomenal for its time. It was the largest grossing independent film ever, beating out I think Halloween in its time, and then Blair Witch fucked all that up. About 9 years later.
I think it was the 5th highest film that year.
It's crazy.
Home Alone, I think, was above that.
Yeah, so
it's a cartoon show.
It's produced by Golden Harvest out of Hong Kong, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I think this movie does hold up remarkably well. Now, when I first watched it, I was a kid. It's like 9-10 years old. Me and some friends, we got dropped off at the theater, the one on Sparkman and University. It's now an auto parts store, but y'all know the ones I'm talking about, Brooks and Jelani. Watching the movie, it just blew my fucking world. All I knew was the cartoon. And I thought it did feel darker, right? And then all the controversy happened. I remember that being a kid being like, I think the movie's fucking awesome. I just loved it. VHS with the Pizza Hut ad and everything. Like, I remember all that shit, right? So, like, it's 5 digs because it holds up. And what's crazy is knowing what I know now about the comics is this is a very remarkably faithful adaptation to the comic book. Like, April O'Neil lives in her father's antique store. Runs it occasionally, right? When Mark, you mentioned when they go away to have to lick their wounds, right? They're going to the farmhouse. That's straight from the fucking comics, right? They kill Shredder at the end. That's straight from the comics, even though it's Casey Jones. Casey Jones' relationship with the Turtles, how he gets introduced to them through a relationship with Raphael. That's from the fucking comics, where they destroy April's place. When Splinter gets kidnapped, there's no Mausers, but it's the fucking comic book. It blows my mind how faithful this thing is to the comics. And we're talking about, 3 years into the show's already been going on, the toy line. It's been going for 3 years. So this has been in production before that. Jim Henson, the special effects. the puppetry. It's absolutely
gorgeous.
amazing. The way it is shot, it's so great, and it reaches deep, man. These turtles, Raphael is crying, right? There's some deep scenes when Splinter's talking to Raphael about how, like, out of all your brothers, you're the one who chooses to face the anger within alone. And like he breaks down and cries. The moment when they're all channeling Splinter's spirit at the blue flame around the campfire, like fucking shocking, right? The moment where Raphael gets his ass kicked by the Foot Clan and gets thrown through the window, that's straight from the comics. In the comics, it's Leonardo.
Yeah,
But that
Leo took the hit in the comics.
every movie goes into this Leonardo Raphael dynamic. Most do it nowhere near as nuanced
good
as
as
this.
this
This feels real, man. The script doesn't treat it like it's a kid's fucking movie, but this is a kid's movie, y'all. And I think it's one of the best ones ever. Five you digs for me. So near perfect scores from everybody here. Now we're going to move on to The Secret of the Ooze. Came out in 1991, directed by Michael Pressman, with written by Todd W. Langan. This one I loved when I was a kid. I fucking loved it so much. I loved Toka and Razor. I loved Super Shredder. On the revisit, it's going to be interesting to see where it stands. But I loved this one as a kid. It's brighter. It's more vibrant. It's more like the cartoon. I'm excited to see what you guys think about this one. I think that they kind of rushed this one out, but the Turtles hype at that time lasted for several years, but we're reaching at this point. But I don't know. Jelani, what did you think? What do you think? What do you rate Secret of the Ooze?
I like Secret of the Ooze. It's still, for me, it still kind of holds up. I mean, it's goofy in parts, and they made it brighter because, you know, the complaints. So, I mean, it's a solid sequel. I don't mind the progression of Super Shredder. I'm kind of mad we didn't try any other villains or get to Krang or get something like that. That would have been nice. But I know that they probably, with Jim Henson's Creature Shop still involved during this period, oh man, a good Krang would have been awesome. But you know, it's fine. It's a serviceable movie. I'm not a fan of Paige Turco. I thought I would be, but she's not my favorite April O'Neil. That's still Judith Hogue, and she's okay.
I think she's a cutie, though. I'll be honest.
Cute.
There's more character I got in the first
right.
one.
There's a lot more character in Judith Hogue, so I mean I get it, but the Secret of the Ooze is fairly decent. I like what's his name, James Warner. I forgot the professor guy that makes that made the movie.
Dave Warner. Yeah, he just passed away.
Yeah, he's in
right.
Isn't he the dude in Omen? Gets like his head cut off or some shit?
I think in the first Omen?
Yeah, isn't he the priest that gets his head cut
Yeah.
off in the Omen?
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
That's like one of my favorite
Yeah.
moments in like a 70s horror film, by the way.
It
Anyway.
is freaking nuts, but yes. I don't know.
He's like
I mean,
your
all in all,
stand-in
it's like-
Baxter Stockman is what he is.
He
in
is
this
a
film.
Baxter Stockman character, and I like him. I hate that the Secret of the Ooze doesn't really give you that. It's just like that. It's just answered. It's just like, here it is. You know, matter of fact, we dropped a canister down the sewer drain on accident. That's it. That's the only reason you're here. And so, you know, the Bay movies give it a little bit more depth. I'm shocked, but we're going to talk about that.
Do you guys notice in
But it's good.
in Secret of the Ooze they changed the name of the company by one letter?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
TCRI.
TGRI.
yeah, I wonder why they
TGRI.
did that. It's maybe somebody misread it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, it's weird. What if it was just a typo? That's all it was, right?
Right. And I like Token Razor. I think I like Token a lot more. It's just a great looking creature. Razor's mouth looks a little weird to me.
I love Token and
that's
Razor.
Like the Overbar, but
Bruh, I ran out to get them goddamn action figures, and as of now, I got a Super Shredder, I got a Toka, but I don't have a Razor. I need a Razor.
Oh man,
You need one.
yeah, it has to be done. But oh yeah, and I got all those figures by the boatload too. All the Secret of the Ooze stuff, I bought that. I was about that movie Turtle life for a long time. So, I mean, I love this film as a kid, so I'm still going to give this one because I have the fuzzy memories about this one a lot more. My nostalgic element is on this one. I like this more than the first one. I give it a 5.
Whoa.
It's
All right.
because of a lot of things on the rewatch. I remember this movie more. And although I remember the first one very well, it's just I like this one a lot more. I just have more fuzzy
All
good
right.
memories about
I
this
get
one.
it, man. I mean, I like Vanilla Ice too, but 5 you digs. All right, that's bold. That's bold and it's daring. What about you, Verno? What do you think about Secret of the Ooze?
Like I said, the first movie was like burned into my brain, and I remembered every scene when I watched it again. But Secret of the Ooze, baby, was like extra burned into my brain. It was burned into people's brains that were just near me. Like, I'm not saying it's better. I'll just get out
No,
there. I'm gonna give it a 4, but I respect your 5. I respect it greatly. But like this one, like I think I'm 2 or 3 years younger than most of you. So I was like 8 years old when this came out. And the tone shift, like when I was a kid, I did like that. I liked it more because it's much funnier. And I think this is peak Turtles charm. Like there's plenty of it in the first one, but this out of all of the films, this is where I get the most like interaction between the turtles in a fun way. Mikey kind of where Ralph was the lead character in a way in the first one. Mikey kind of he's got the most quotable lines in this one. He gets a lot more, and he really holds this one up. There's so many quotable lines, like a little too Ralph, like just like
yeah.
even Donatello sitting there playing with that clown. Yeah, just like when I saw that yesterday, this is the first time I'd watched this movie in like 20 years, and everything just tickled me, and even stuff that isn't funny. Like I wasn't sitting there like dying laughing at everything, but I remembered little Verno dying laughing at everything, like especially in this one. But so I love it, dude. I will say, like, yeah, the April, it's a downgrade in this one.
Yeah.
Coca, Razor, Fire. The suits, they look like the exact same, but I saw online where they
They're a
are
little
different
different.
suits, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Movie came out like 30 minutes after the first one. Why didn't they just reuse those suits? But
They are different suits, and one thing that I don't like about the movie is that the animatronics, they are better, but they almost like go too far, and they have the eyes are like moving fucking weird and shit,
Dude.
and it looks more it looks,
I saw something where there was an airport. They were filming by an airport, and the radio waves from these planes, because these were radio operated, were like screwing with them. So they'd be in the middle of a take, and the faces would start going all crazy.
maybe they kept some of those takes, man.
I would love to see them, dude, because I bought like the 3-pack, and there's no special features, which was a super bummer. But even though I don't think this is as good as a film, I think I enjoyed this on the rewatch even more because it's crazy how much I remembered every second of this film. And go ninja, go. All the things that people would think are cheesy about it, I loved. Like I loved Vanilla Ice when I was a kid in this, and people think that's so lame. And I'm curious.
I got a goddamn Vanilla Ice Secret of the Ooze poster that Brian gave me. I'm excited. I need to get Vanilla to sign it, man.
I watched one British YouTuber, and I'm curious. I can't wait to hear Mark say Vanilla Ice. But I love how the British folk add an R at the end of vanilla, because I listened to this dude say Vanilla Ice like 40 times, and I laughed every time. But
Are you talking about Oliver Harper by any chance?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. He's good though. He was good. He did like 10 things that you don't know about.
Okay, I got you, man. So some high scores so far for Secret of the Ooze, and the real Secret of the Ooze lies over across the pond in yonder land. Mark, what do you think about Secret of the Ooze?
I'll give it a 4.5. I think that's a good score. I want to try and say it like and not say it like I'm gonna Vanilla Ice. Is that okay?
Acceptable.
I didn't want to call. Real quick. I'm sorry. I didn't want to call Verno out because I know he meant Raph, but he did keep saying Ralph. It was weird.
You said Ralph?
Did I say Ralph? I've been
drinking
pretty heavy.
You're adding letters in the name.
Raphael.
That is weird. I did.
Hey, if the British can add the R to vanilla,
right?
Yeah.
I suppose well they said it like vanilla ice.
Vanilla.
Yeah, vanilla. Vanilla. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, do you know what I always thought was weird? Was I watching on the rewatch. The film kind of feels like it's in some ways set just after the first one, and in
Yeah,
other
it's like
ways,
minutes after they die, they
yeah,
go back to they can't go back to the apartment or
no,
back to the sewer.
yeah, but then other ways you feel like there has been a jump because like April's got a different boss,
Mhm.
like and
She's
also,
about to go on a vacation. This is the next day. She's already planning her vacation. She's
yeah,
trying to
I
get
mean,
out of
like-
here.
It just seemed like there was, I don't know, just weird thing. But then also that they recast April, which I hated. There's a new
Yeah.
boss, either a recast.
There's no Casey
or-
Jones.
Yeah. Also because Casey Jones and April kiss him at the end of the first movie, and Casey's like, "Where is Casey in the second movie?" That didn't get mentioned. Like it would just be even nice if they just mentioned like, "Oh, Casey had to, I don't know, go see his uncle or something." I don't know, like considering how it all ended, and they were all like a sort of a nice little team family unit. Him and April, were they, weren't they? Even if they just said April and Casey, it didn't work out. I don't know. They just felt like they should have just done something. That kind of just annoys me. Maybe more annoys me more as an adult, probably as a child, less so. I do remember as a child being annoyed he wasn't in it though. Anyway, I felt that it was a nice gradual move from the first one to the second one. Like it wasn't as dark and gritty for that time. There was a lot more humour in it, and I did appreciate the humour as a child. But even as an adult, I was still laughing away, like you guys said as well, just in certain moments. But I probably was laughing the most when they all the turtles were doing the ninja rap dance moves on the dance floor. And I especially loved it when they came back to that moment in the sewers where Spencer gets the newspaper out and saying like you must try harder, and like they got the ninja rap across the paper as well. I thought that was brilliant. I don't know. I liked this movie. It was a nice sequel. I felt, although it probably was rushed out. And Verno, I do remember actually watching a making of this back at the time. So with the little electronics that they had, so they would control the mouse with little walkie-talkie thingies. I don't know whatever they were, little handsets. And so basically, the people in the suits couldn't control the mouth. It was people nearby. I thought that was pretty cool for back then. I think for back then as well, like early '90s, just like how the suits were controlled, was just amazing. And I feel sometimes certain things are ruined when they go to CGI, like even Star Wars and stuff like that. So.
Even
Yeah.
Star Wars?
No, like sometimes, like when they went back and like redid the original.
No, I'm just joking.
Like, yeah, no, like when they added all this unnecessary CGI, like so. Yeah, no, I really did enjoy it. I think, to be honest, I enjoyed the story. I thought it was, it was nice for them to go into an origin. It was cool to see Shredder finally did get killed off. It was, I don't like it when they kill them off straight away in like the first movie, you never see him again. It's good how they brought him back, and I thought Super Shredder at the end was quite cool. And yeah, I don't know, it was just a really enjoyable film for me. It wasn't probably as good as the first, but I think it was near enough close by. Oh, I did look up, by the way. This movie was the top 10 at the box office that year it came out. So Terminator 2 was the number one in the box office that year.
And
Yeah,
this
it's
was
tough
the
to beat that one.
second highest grossing independent film at the time after the first one.
Okay. What about you, Joe? What do you think about Secret of the Ooze?
I enjoyed it a lot as a kid. I had those first 3 VHSs, watched them a ton. I have watched this one. I watched it at the beginning of the pandemic. I went through, rewatched them all. So I had seen this again recently. I rewatched it, today, actually. This is the one, because my watch order for all these, I did the Michael Bay ones, the animated one, Turtles 3, like Saturday night. I watched the first one yesterday, and then I watched Secret of the Ooze today.
Nice.
Because I was trying to because I'm like, you got to watch 1 and 2. You can't, like, mess around with that. 3, you can watch one. Who cares? And then, with the other ones. But, I give this one a 3.5. It's not, again, this isn't like the way I'm like doing it in my head. It's not entirely like, as a kid, this is a 5. No, like there's a version of me as a kid who's very upset with me right now. But there's just like, again, like trying to apply some of that logic and some of the ways I'm looking at this. Like, if I showed someone who had no idea what the Turtles were, the first movie, and then I showed them this, they would be like, oh, fuck this. Like, they would, you know, like that. There's just like, it's so much of it is the Turtles nostalgia, I think, for me. And even at the time, whereas the first movie had like all these characters I knew from the cartoon, and then I'm watching this and I'm like, why is he not Baxter Stockman? And why aren't they Rocksteady and Bebop? And like it felt like we were starting to get into like weird knockoff territory. And even as like a kid, that kind of bugged me a bit. But then, and you know, recasting April, I'm like, that's not really April. And who the fuck's the ninja delivery guy? Like all of these things kind of like
That's
started.
Ernie Reyes Jr., man.
He's in the movie for most of the movie, and they just
He was
popped back up at the
Donatello.
end.
Yeah, he was Donatello in the first one.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I'm saying as a kid watching the movie.
Yeah.
Pizza time. I just kept thinking of fucking Peter Parker. Pizza time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but like, and there's also just a lot of like, while there are clearly some like, you know, logic issues and stuff like that in the first movie, this one kind of like takes it to that like next level where they do a lot of weird, silly things. Like, I'm just going to pick you up and put you in the trash can and you're not going to be able to get out even though you're a ninja for like the whole fight. And then we have to help. Like, that was weird. I'm like, why is this even happening? You had the bit when they first break into the lab where they're all standing on the roof and they're like, let's go. And it immediately cuts to them just like walking into the one lab set. And, you know, like that kind of stuff where you're like, what? All right. Like, there's some retreading and it's like, oh, they captured Raph and now we got to save Raph. Like, we kind of had to save Splinter. You know, there's some like moving around some of the pieces. The Super Shredder thing always bothered me because you never get to experience them fighting him.
Right. You don't.
He's
You
just,
never said.
yeah,
He's
he's just
background. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just doing that and then like kind of kills himself. And I never felt like the way it was done. I never felt the turtles were threatened because I'm like, I can see the water here and that there's a path. They can just leave. Like, I'm like, I don't know why they're talking and doing like, you know, and when you're a kid and you're thinking that stuff, that's not great. You don't want that. You know, there was a way they could have shot that to hide that and make it seem like that wasn't as easy to escape. But some of the stuff that elevates the movie, like some of the more interesting parts of it are a little later on when they're like Donatello and then they're having that kind of conversation of, so we're like an accident, like what, like they're kind of like having a like, what is the meaning of life conversation. And that's interesting. I really like that part. I like how they're kind of exploring this and they're kind of like, well, I thought we were special. Are we not special? Like we're just an accident. Like that I thought was interesting. Finding the new home and the subway and all of that. That was really interesting.
Yeah, I still want to live there, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, that was fantastic. There are a bunch of good fights. I don't understand, like, no matter how many times I've seen this, the layout of sort of that final fight, I'm like, where the hell are they that they're like able to punch themselves into a music venue?
Yes, right.
Like,
I just
like,
love how Vanilla Ice, by the way, just goes with it.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, and he allegedly starts freestyling the ninja rap, but
yeah. But it's like, so you got that happening, and then you also have like Shredder and the Foot Soldiers are kind of like, oh yeah, that's fine. Just feed Toka and Razor whatever the hell you got in that box. It probably isn't poison, right?
everybody
Wait,
just patiently
the fact
waits
that
for
they
them to eat
find
these
out-
fucking donuts, man.
Yeah. And they crush it in their hands, and like the cube is in there, and I'm like, how would you know to do that? Why would you know to do that? Aren't you just eating donuts? Aren't you a dumb infant?
They're babies.
And then it's, that I love that, but like, and then their idea that they're like, oh, let's just shove a fire extinguisher down their throat and put it on full blast. It's like, yeah, you would kill anyone doing that. Like, that's not like
That's not how this works.
That's
This works.
that's a surefire way to end most fights. is to do that. But another positive is I do think they still managed to make Shredder just about as intimidating as he was in the first movie. Like, they could have made him even goofier and dumber, but he was still a bit of a presence. Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know.
It's cool.
I don't know why he had to redesign his helmet to have more edges. Like,
It's his
sure.
mutation.
Because
Right.
it was more extreme,
Yeah.
man.
They need to make a new toy.
Yeah, no, it's very true. You know, but
Super Shredder.
Saw blade shredder.
Yeah.
he's some kind of super shredder. You know, but
They do say that, don't
They
they?
do.
They sure do. You know, it's
Good
God,
times.
it's yeah. So like that, and like the other big, for me, one of the bigger problems compared to the first movie overall is it's just not as well thought out. Like, that first movie is so tight, and everyone has something to do. Casey Jones has something to do, and he's there for a purpose the whole time. April O'Neil serves a purpose. Whereas this movie, they're like adding more characters, but they don't have enough for everyone to do. And there's people that are just kind of like aimlessly there. Like, April isn't really doing that much. Like, if you took April out of that movie and they were just crashing at her place and she wasn't there and they were like, oh, we're going to go find a new place, that'd be fine.
She's
Like,
kind of she's not there in the second half of the movie pretty much at all.
yeah, like, she's really not important to it. The David Warner character is like kind of just vaguely knows science stuff, and he's really important for like one or two scenes, and then the rest of the time he's there to be like, gobbledygook, and Donatello to be like, that's cool, and Michelangelo to be like, what are you talking about? And it's like,
That's
sure.
That's
Like, all right, I guess. And like, Splinter doesn't have as much to do. Like, they gave him a lot to do because in the first movie he's teaching them, then he gets captured, and there's a reason for that. So they're just like, he's bow and arrow, and just in the one scene, and then after that it's like, whatever. I'm just gonna sit here, and then Pizza Boy's gonna be like, we should fight, and he's like, and then Pizza Boy's all like, I'm gonna run away and ninja kick the vial, and then Shredder's gonna be like, I still got more, bitch. Like, I mean, sure, that might as well happen. So yeah, the movie. It's fun. There's nostalgic elements to it. For a 90s sequel, it is perfectly fine. But like, it is not any worse than most like 80s, 90s kind of like sequel movies to like, it might even be better than a lot of like, like I'd probably watch this over like the Never Ending Story 2, but that's kind of where
yeah. I don't know if Joe's ever broken down a movie as much as he just did Secret of the Ooze. I think he just went for 20 minutes on Secret of the Ooze. I think Brooks is asleep, but if he can wake up, Brooks, what do you think about Secret of the Ooze?
I remember when I was a kid, like, I remember the hype around this movie was huge. Like, because we just seen the first one, like, oh, they're already working. Somehow the information of the second movie coming out had gotten to us, despite not having the internet. And I remember seeing it, I'm like, oh man, as a kid, I'm like, I love this. I think it's better than the first one. But like, I was wrong as a kid. I was dumb. This movie is dumb. It's not like, terrible dumb, but it is. They definitely lean more into the 80s cartoon, which is kind of good in some ways. But like, in a lot of ways, a lot of that humor doesn't work as well. Or I guess not that it doesn't work well. It just doesn't carry a movie as well, I don't think. It's like, there's never any point where you really think, oh shit, something bad could happen, The Turtles are kind of getting a little bit like overpowered in this one. Because like, even when they're fighting Toka and Razar, it's like, you're not really that concerned that they're going to lose.
Yeah.
because Token Razor are so stupid. And like, I actually, when I remember a kid, I was kind of like, at first I was like, why didn't just use Bebop and Rocksteady? But then like, I was like, oh, but now we got 2 new cool hench goon guys, more toys for me to buy,
Yep.
But as far as ratings go, I'd probably give this movie a 3. It's all right, a lot of nostalgia carries it for me, but like after watching the first one and like comparing them, I'm like, I thought 2 was just kind of trash. Not like complete trash, but just kind of trash.
All right. Fair enough. I'm going to go 3.5. 3.5. I loved this one as a kid. I still liked it, but it is, like Brooke said, dumb.
Cheesy.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
I don't think the animatronics, they improved certain things, but I think they went too far when they were improving certain things, and it kind of made it look kind of goofy and kooky. But the movie is goofy and kooky, but it kind of embraces that, and it is fun. I enjoy it. I even remember being a kid being like, why is Michelangelo using a yo-yo and not his fucking nunchucks,
Yep.
So like there's that. I love Token Razor. Super Shredder, I fucking love the design and the look, but yeah, you're right. It's an incredibly
anticlimactic.
In fact, Shredder doesn't get a more anticlimactic ending until the last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. We'll get to that. So I'll go 3.5. So, all right. Interesting to see where we are. In 1993, they released Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, which was not called Turtles in Time at the time, but has now been dubbed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time. So that's one of those Mandela effect, I guess, kind of things, Verno. I guess the video game, and eventually it's called Turtles in fucking Time. So that's the way it goes. Jelani, what do you think about this one, man?
Fuck this movie. Give this like a 2. Good God. The animatronics on the face and the eyes of this one is straight garbage. And
this shit looks like
spots.
Showbiz Pizza, bro.
It's
like
bad.
Showbiz Pizza, man.
Yeah. They're like doing rock star nonsense. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely a 2. It's just like the story's weak, the premise is weak. You got this stick, and the stick takes you back in time, but it takes you back in time to the same person that has to be holding the stick at the exact same time you're holding it.
Funny thing is, that's actually from the comics.
Same way.
The
Really?
concept is from the Mirage comics.
That's awful. That's freaking awful. I don't understand it. I cannot understand it. If I read it there, I believe it more than I would in this movie. I didn't mind the samurai outfits that they were wearing when they first got transported. I do like those. I think there were figures of those, and I never got them.
Yeah.
And I never saw this movie when I was a kid. Never saw it. So this is the first time I've seen it, and I guess I'm doing it with adult goggles because this was just like painful for me for some reason. I don't know what it is about this story, and people love this. And I'm like, there's a reason they stopped making these for like 14 years. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of meh. And sometimes they know English, sometimes they know Japanese. Sometimes it's wishy-washy. The same villain guy as the villain guy from Lethal Weapon 3. And I didn't know he was British in real life.
It sure fucking is, man.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
That's the same guy.
Jack Travis.
I was like, yeah. And he's just weird. I don't know. Every time I see him, he's a bad guy in a movie. So it's just like, he's just typecast to be that dude.
He has that smug face.
He has a very smug face, yeah. The daimyo's kind of weak. All the character motivations are weak for all of the characters. Like Wit, I don't understand Wit. Like everybody's like, he's Casey Jones. Oh no, it's not Casey Jones. And it feels weird that he's there and then Casey's like in New York wearing that wig, that really, really bad wig. And he just showed back up. And then at the end, like he and April, like, haha, you're friends. We don't need to talk about that kiss from the first movie. The fact that I wasn't there for the second one.
Or that rapey massage.
Yeah.
You sit down.
You sit down.
In
Let
there.
me rub you. I want to rub you. Okay.
So you said two you digs for this one?
2 you digs, my
Two
friends.
you digs. I think that's more than fair for this one. What about you, Verno? What do you think?
I hated it. I hate it. I'll go 1.5, and it's weird. Like I was trying to think, like I barely remember this movie, but I'm sure I'll put it on and then I'll remember it. And it's like, nope. Like I must have just not watched it. I remember like seeing it as a kid and like, what is wrong with them? Why do they look like this? And I'm like proud of all of our kids of that generation that most people were like, yeah, fuck this movie. Like they thought they could trick us or something. But I don't like anything like about the movie. For me, it has, and I don't even like them in their samurai suits. I thought I did, but then I watched this. I'm like, they just look like fat turtles. Like for the most part, it's kind of, the figures were cooler looking than what I think they look like in here.
Oh yeah,
the lights are too bright, especially at the beginning, like when they're in New York before they travel back in time. The lighting is just dog shit, and you can see how shiny they look, and it's just there's very few redeeming qualities. They're throwing in a bunch of pop culture references. They're swinging at April O'Neil on her leg, which is fucking weird.
I mean, I'd swing at that too. I'm just gonna say, man.
Yeah,
I'm picking
I don't know. I'll just kind of leave it at that. 1.5. Didn't like it. We'll definitely never watch TMNT 3 again.
I love that we're making up some time on this review. I'm going to tell you that. Mark, what do you think about TMNT 3?
You know what? I can't remember what it was I was watching. So I was at the cinema. You know, I think Jane said a minute, or no, it was Brooke, sorry, pre-internet. So you know, you'd never hear of stuff unless you read it in like a magazine or someone's friend told someone's friend. Like, you know, I remember being at the cinema, whatever I was going to watch, and there was a poster of Turtles 3 on the wall. And I remember they had like little square boxes of all the faces of everybody that was in it, like, you know, all the actors and actresses. And then there was a picture of Casey Jones. And I remember getting excited, like the cinema. I was like, "Yeah, Casey Jones is back!" Like I was like so excited. I was like, "I can't believe it!" I loved Casey Jones from the first movie. I was always like annoyed that he wasn't in the second movie. So that was a memory of mine. I don't have a good memory nowadays of obviously my past. But I actually do remember being in the cinema watching that. Anyway, my rating, like, I want to give this a 3 out of 5. So this is an okay movie. Like, it's not like the worst movie in the world. But I think sometimes when you're a fan of pop culture and certain aspects of pop culture, like, you know, I love Masters of the Universe, I love Turtles, I love lots of things from that time, you know, Visionaries, Defenders of the Earth, all that kind of stuff that I used to love. I appreciate that sometimes that we get things that may not be perfect, and this is one of those things that's not perfect.
Mark, are you running for fucking office or something, Mark? What the hell's going on here?
I'm just trying to say it's not a bad movie. Like, and anyway, I just so you know, like, I was interested in this. The film when it came out this year, that year, 1993, the top movie was Jurassic Park, #1. This movie was, you could see why they didn't carry on. 31, number 31. It didn't make that much money.
Well, in 93, the Turtles fever's kind of dying at this point.
So, but what I mean is, what drop off? You know, it was the 5th highest grossing movie in the first one, the 10th grossing movie, and then 31. You know, so things I hated about this though. I hate this in all movies where you have time travel and the same actor will play different roles. It's so unnecessary. I really hate it. Like, they got a guy in a cage who is basically Casey Jones, and she goes, "Oh, Casey, oh yes, look at you." I hate stuff like that. Like, really do. I was reading an article the other day of the actress who played the first April O'Neil. Apparently, they did try to get her to come back for the third movie, but then they changed their minds and said, "Actually, no, that would confuse the kids if we brought you back again." And I probably would have been alright with it, like, in all honesty. But at least there was some consistency that the same April O'Neil was in 2 and 3.
She would have wanted to do this one.
Judith Hope dodged the bullet with this movie.
Right.
She probably did dodge the bullet, yeah. It's an alright movie, you know. It's a kind of a standalone, you know. It's okay. You know, the movie is very one note. There's no character depth to any of the villains. I would say really a good judge for me is that I was really focused even on the rewatch of the first two. Like I didn't pick up my phone, I didn't do anything else. But the third one just didn't really hold my attention. I would find that I would pick up my phone, I was deviating. But there were parts of it I did enjoy. Like I did think it was quite sweet. The relationships with it's Raph, isn't it? The one, the little boy in the village, and
No, that's Ralph.
Ralph, yeah.
Ralph, yeah. I did love elements of that. I didn't like how selfish the Turtles were being about staying in the past, though, because they were just prioritizing themselves and not thinking about the fact that they can stitch up these samurai that are now in the future and clearly although they did seem to be enjoying themselves on the pinball machine, but like on the arcade machines, and but yeah, I thought that was quite selfish for sort of hero turtles, and but I don't know, it was all right. Like I do love the fact that we've still got the train underground base. I love that. I always thought that was pretty cool. You find like under subway stations that have been abandoned, and that's probably the one good thing about Amazing Spider-Man 2. Actually. But yeah, I don't know. It was an okay movie. That's kind of all I have to say, really. It's a shame it didn't carry on beyond that and kind of redeem themselves. It was kind of it's a bit of a womp to go out on this franchise.
I think you're being rather kind to this film. Joe, what do you think about TMNT 3?
It is tough because the nostalgia and your feelings about a property work both ways. I might be more critical on this, or I might be being too generous. I'm trying to think, but my gut right now is saying two you digs. I think the utter and like the turtle, like the part of me that really likes the Turtles and grew up with them is kind of like, just give it a 1, man. Like fuck it, but I'm giving it a 2 because it's already a failing grade first off, and then also it's like there are parts of the movie, I don't know if parts work, but there are parts where it's like, oh, that's a movie. It looks like they filmed something and they put it out. It sounds okay. They're acting through scenes. It's filmed in a coherent way where there's a beginning, middle, and end. So, like, I mean, that movie has all of that going for it. What I really hate about the movie, like, there's a lot of things to hate about this. The Splinter, who's clearly not even an act, that's like an animatronic that's just like in the train car.
Right.
It's so upsetting. April kind of has more to do in this one than the last one, but also kind of not. It's weird. It's like she's captured, but also is she in that much danger? Like it's very weird. And then it felt like they were trying to make up for no Casey Jones by doubling up on the Casey Jones, but in a way that made where Casey Jones has less to do than the other guy he's playing.
Yeah.
And like, what's the point of him being that character if you're not going to do a storyline? Like, how is there not a B plot where he switches places with current day Casey Jones and doesn't want to go back? Like, how do you not do that if that's what you're doing? Like, it seems like all of these missed opportunities and half-baked ideas are just thrown in this movie. The stakes aren't really that high because it's like, oh, they're just going to go back home and that's going to be it. They're not like saving too many people, really.
Michelangelo wants to stay and he's in love. God, sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like yours was being brought up before, like Michelangelo Michelangelo randomly at the end of the movie forgetting how the movie works. And being like, I don't want to come back. And then they have to explain to him how the time travel they already explained to him works.
Yeah.
Being like, no, but then the other guy is stuck in the present. And him kind of being like, oh, well, there are worse things. It's like, what? No. Like, what are you talking about? And it's like, you just met this girl.
Right.
Why do you care so much?
And you're
like,
a turtle.
Yeah. There's so much wrong
You
with
know?
it. That's why I hate
mean,
this movie. I agree. This movie
it
sucks
just-
ass.
It just sucks. I remember my dad appreciating the Don King joke. But,
Yeah.
Oh,
but I'm
yeah.
trying to-
That dates
You
it
know.
a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that date, but like making another funny didn't work. The bits where they're just like, trying to learn, like figure out TV and like hockey, and it's like, what are we doing?
Those
Yeah.
are my
What
those
is
are my
this
those are
movie?
my favorite bits of the movie. I would rather have more of that, of Casey taking these dudes to
Yeah,
get
to New
pizza
York.
and to the
Yeah.
arcade. I'd rather get more of that, but I don't know.
But
I like the
that's-
fish out of water thing. So
That stuff, like that's its own movie. Just do that movie. Get rid of the turtles. Do an indie movie
It's
about
just-
some guy.
Casey Jones.
Some guy that plays street hockey is trying to figure out what to do with these, like,
Joe,
like these-
Joe, you need to keep this. This is a brilliant idea. You need to keep that to yourself right now. Okay.
Right. Write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think that could work.
That's
I
me.
think that
idea,
could work.
dude.
Thank you. So yeah, overall, it could have been better.
Could have been better. Could have been better. All right. What about you, Brooks? Where are you at on Turtles in Time?
Well,
God, Joe. Sorry.
if stupidity were contagious, this movie would be a biohazard. This movie is so dumb.
I hope that if they ever do a new Blu-ray, I hope they put that fucking quote on.
That's my quote for this movie. That sums it up for me. Like, this movie is just so dumb. It's not. I remember when I was a kid. I remember watching it, renting it on VHS, and watching it. And even as a kid, who like pretty much loved just about every movie I ever watched, I was like, that movie sucked. But also at the same time, I wasn't like mad about it or anything. It's just like, It's kind of the natural progression, really, when you watch the movies back to back. It was kind of headed this way. They're just going more and more towards the cartooniness, and it doesn't work as well, especially in this one. It's just a dumb movie with like bad jokes, and it's dumb.
Just dumb. All right.
Yeah, it's just
What
dumb.
did you rate it? What did you rate it?
I would give this one a 2.
A 2. All right. I'm right there with you and Joe. I give it a 2. It's dumb. It's yeah, and Jelani, it's dumb. It's stupid. This movie is, to me, I think it's the fucking worst Turtles movie. Period. I think we'll get there, but I think it's the fucking worst.
No, son.
I hate they bring back Casey Jones for no fucking reason.
No
They
reason.
waste him,
Yep.
right? In 2 roles, they waste this
Mhm.
motherfucker. It's just bad. The
Yes.
animatronics look like,
It's terrible.
you know,
It's
when
nostalgic.
Showbiz Pizza down here became Chuck E. Cheese and they got rid of the old animatronics. I think they gave them to fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Like, they're all just like fucking, it's like, well, they're like, just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, are there like 80 airplanes flying across at the same time? Like, it just looks bad. It's stupid. The music's not good. And I just don't like this film. It's too, you digs, because it's still the Turtles. April's a cutie.
Yeah.
And yeah, they made a fucking movie, like Joe said. So
Yeah.
there you go. So we're not pleased with the Turtles in Time. However, does it get better? Does it get worse? Find out. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the latter half of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise here on PCP Movie Night. All right, everybody, welcome back to our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Action Fest finale. Talking about all the movies. We already talked about the first three. I believe we'll go quicker on these final three because there's not too much. You know, we've already covered a lot of the dynamics. Anyway, let's get into it. We're going to kick off with 2007. There was a brief kind of a resurgence of TMNT with the new series, and you know there was some things happening, right? And the rights were switching different places and this and that. And they did the TMNT animated film in 2007. I like this film. It does serve as a part 4 because at the very end, if you notice, when they're putting Raphael's, I can't remember his vigilante persona right now, but when they're putting that mask up on the mantle, there's a Shredder helmet, right? And there's the Ooze bottle from part 2, and there's a samurai helmet from part 3. So it is, I think, canon. So I like this film. So I'm interested to see what you think. Jelani, what do you rate it? Why?
I really enjoyed TMNT. I worked at the movie theater when this came out, and or I saw it in theaters more than once. I enjoyed it a lot. I like the cast. I like that Jean-Luc Picard is the freaking villain. It's really cool. I love that it's a continuation of that story. It does feel like it. I mean, it's like Leo going down to South America to meditate and figure out what he wants to do as a leader. I mean, it feels great. I like the dynamic between he and Raph in that, you know, their scenes together. I like the brotherhood kind of situation. It's a touching story. I like April and how April and Casey are. I mean, they're a couple. It feels like it's the natural progression of that story. So
Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chris
Evans. Yeah, randomly Chris Evans.
April's got ninja training in this movie too.
Yeah, she's really good. And I like the clan is still in it. The Foot Clan looks awesome. I like
they got what's her name?
Karai in
there. Yeah. So it's pretty decent. It's a pretty decent story. I'll give this. To me, I love this one. I give this one a 5.
Oh, damn, nice.
I'm really impressed by it. I don't know what it is. I wish they could have continued. Like with this, I heard like the studio got bought out right after. It
was like a Magi studio. It was like a Magi Productions or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they got bought out, so they didn't do a sequel to this. And I was like, oh, I love that. You know, I just like those turtles. There's the Nickelodeon Turtles that came out, that TV show.
It came 5 years later, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was when Nickelodeon bought the whole thing. I think Peter Laird was the one that sold, because Eastman had sold to Laird, and then Laird sold to Nickelodeon, then they did that. But 2000, I'm right there with you. 2007 is really fun.
It's awesome. It's a great film.
I think it's a great animated film, too. The animation is super solid. The story, like you were saying, is great. It does continue that stuff. It gets deep into these brothers. It gets deep into who they are and a little bit more of their split, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I like the film. I like it a lot. Verna, what about you?
Full disclosure, first time I watched this movie was yesterday, and I was a little sleepy, right? So I was having a hard time getting into it, and I fell asleep a couple times. I had to rewind it, rewatch stuff, full disclosure. But I did like it. It took a while for me, at least, to get rolling. I thought it was kind of a slow start, and I couldn't really get into it. You said the animation is really good, especially for 2007. Like, I was pretty impressed with that. The action is really good. I like the Leo Ralph dynamic. The fight with them on the rooftop.
It's Raph.
Fuck.
You said Ralph again.
I'll just say I don't talk about the turtles much, okay? Fucking, this is like the first time I've talked about the turtles with people in maybe 25 years. But anyway, the Ralph fight with Leonard is really fucking enjoyable, and that's the point that I got into it. I'll say I love Patrick Stewart. The dude's like my spirit animal, but I couldn't accept him as that dude. Like, he was too young, too good looking, and he was too Patrick Stewart. So I was like having a hard time with that. But I can't get over this Ralph stuff.
Patrick Stewart's voice.
No, don't get me wrong. I loved it. It was good. But it was just, I had a hard time not thinking of Patrick Stewart and being like, he looks so fucking weird to me. But the music was great. Like the music in this one's really, really good. Like super intense and dramatic, badass. I did not like Splinter's voice. That was weird to me.
Mako.
I didn't like that they made him like I think he was Monk. Yeah, he was Monk, the dude from Wings.
Oh yeah, the guy that was Splinter. I'm sorry to cut you off. The guy
No,
that
you're
was
good.
Splinter was Elmo. The guy that did the voice for Elmo, like Kevin, I forgot his name. He was in trouble for being some weird stuff. He got kicked out, but his voice was great for Splinter in the movies.
Right, right.
The first 3 movies. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll give it, just from my first time watching it, I'll give it a 3, and I guarantee this is the type of one that I'll watch again, and I'll like it more. And I thought maybe it was just like I said, because I was sleepy. I thought it was like the least fun turtle dynamics for me. Like Mikey, he carries most of the movies as far as the comedy goes, and I thought this was his least. The performance of Mikey's character that I liked the best, and like just like the charm of the turtles, I wasn't feeling on this particular Sunday when I watched it. So I'll give it a 3 for the first time watching.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Mark? What do you think about TMNT from 2007?
Of the first 4 we've talked about, this is probably my least watched of those 4. I don't feel the connection to this movie as much. I did watch it when it came out, and I remember the buzz around it because of the apparent connection to the original 3. That, like, there's a lot of talk of is this or is this not linked? But I do remember at the time them saying it was part of that continuity. I'll probably give this I will give this a 4 out of 5. I think, for me personally, I don't really love animated movies. Like, I'm not an animated movie fan. So, just in general, that's not, I'm just not particularly animated movie fan. I never go to sit down and really watch animated stuff in general. Like, unless it's with my children and they want to watch, I don't know, the Minions or something. It's just not something for me. So for me, it felt like a pilot episode of a TV series. It had that whole continuation feel about it. And apparently there was meant to be continuations. The strengths for me here, though, were the animation is I think really phenomenal. Like, especially like you said in 2007, I think the animation really impressed me. Even at the time, I remember showing someone a trailer on my phone or something, and like I remember showing something. Maybe it was on my phone. But I remember showing someone the trailer and saying, "Just look how like fantastic this looks." I was really impressed in 2007. The voice cast is amazing. Patrick Stewart, I have to say, does throw me off. Like, kind of they expect him to be not in these type of macho roles, but he does have a really strong voice. So that strong voice does fit maybe this sort of strong villain character. I love that Nolan North is Raphael. So if anyone knows who Nolan North is, Uncharted, the game series, Nathan Drake, he's like, he's brilliant as Nathan Drake, and I loved him as Raphael. Obviously Sarah Michelle Gellar, you can tell it's her. I think the voice cast is really good, really does stand this film out. I don't know, like I thought the storyline was okay, like it didn't really draw me in, like, but I think for me it's the voice cast and the animation. I do like the potential that it could be linked as a 4th movie to that franchise. The bit about the character part that I loved the most was that Leonardo went off to South America and decided to take this whole leadership thing seriously, and that he didn't rush back. He really wanted to take the sort of the task that Splinter had set him seriously and didn't rush back. And then I do love how his return is really dynamic. It's kind of like, I love the glider thing that he comes in flying back into New York. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a real amazing entrance to his return to New York City. But yeah, and I love the fact as well that they do leave you hanging, that there's potentially like bigger villains coming as the movie ends, and that the Foot Clan is involved. But I don't know, for me it's the animation and the voice cast. I thought the story was a bit weak, but I think the animation and the cast really make this film come up to a 4.5. So
4.5. All right.
Sorry, 4. Sorry, 4 out of 5. Sorry,
4 out of 5. My bad. Okay, 4 out of 5. All right. What about you, Joe? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't have the same nostalgia factor for this as the original 2, but it's good. It doesn't have some of the same kind of plot holes or quirks in it that mentioning from previous movies. It's pretty tight. It's interesting seeing sort of the different progressions of the characters. I guess one thing that's like kind of irks me a bit is as much as I enjoy the fight between Leo and Ralph is when Leo is like genuinely surprised, and it's like, you've been fighting with your brothers like your whole lives, you've been training together, and you didn't immediately recognize the fighting style of your brother who you've been training with your whole life.
Right.
Like, give me.
He's been out of touch for so long. He forgot what his brothers were like. First time in Central America.
Yeah, Ralph developed new styles since then, Joe.
He's got vigilante styles now.
But yeah, there were little things like that. I enjoyed there being sort of a fresh kind of villain approach, that they weren't like, it's Shredder again, which I'm sure there was pressure to kind of be like, let's fucking do Shredder again. But to have it be the generals, I wish one of the generals they just named him like General Trag or something like that, from the Stone Generals from Dimension X. Like, it would have been cool to kind of tie that together. But these are little nitpicky things. But overall, I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting, pretty straightforward plot of like, this is the bad guy, but a little bit of a twist. Maybe there's really these other things going on. So I give it a 4 you digs.
Nice. What about you, Brooks?
I think this is the other good movie in the franchise. It's another one that's about something and not just turtles doing wacky shit. It's actually kind of it gives the characters arcs, and the animation is very good. And I'm glad like the villain's not your stock trying to take over the world or whatever. He's just trying to like fix his own mistakes. Yeah. And I like how the Foot Clan is used in this movie too. They're like kind of errand boys, but in the end, that like their loyalty gets tested, and she's like, the Foot Clan chooses to be honorable. And I like how they hinted at a Shredder comeback, kind of sequel baited a little bit at the end there.
Yeah.
But I would have totally been down for like another movie in this movie's vein. I think like they did a lot with with the turtles in this movie. I'd give this one a 4 because I don't think this is quite as good, but it's still a good solid watch.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm right there with y'all. 4 for me. I think the animation's great. I like the story. I like how it's continuing it. It's trying to further develop the relationship between these brothers, that dynamic, their place in the world. It's developing Casey and April a little bit further. The villain doesn't hit me as much as some of the other ones. That's okay. I like the monsters. I like all the spectacle of it. So I think it's solid. I think it's really good. I would say that this is probably my second favorite Turtles film, right along with Brooks. So I'll go for you digs. And then we unfortunately have to come to 2014. And I remember, so this is the first time I've seen any of these two films that we're about to talk about. But in 2014, I remember all the shit. I remember this because I recently had a Facebook memory pop up in which I was like, "They're supposed to be fucking aliens. Fuck you, Michael Bay." I was so mad. Like I was like, because you remember all the were like, Shredder's gonna be a robot and the turtles are aliens and all this shit, right? So I watched it for the first time. I tried to have a clear, open mind. This movie sucks, but it doesn't suck as much as Turtles in Time for me, because there are things in this movie that I do like. I think I like the action for the most part. Like, it's not the best stuff. It's not great, but it's got a nice kind of fun flair to it, but it never feels like it's about the turtles. It's April O'Neil story, and Megan Fox is the worst April O'Neil in this film. I'm not a fan, right? Will Arnett, kind of annoying in this movie, kind of obnoxious as Vern. Definitely more based on the cartoons that we've seen. They're trying to do something with the different turtles. They all have different personalities, but they also have a different look uniquely. And I don't know, man. Like, I tried. I didn't really like this movie. Like, it was okay, but the entire time, and I'm watching this film, I'm like, they did it better in 1990. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's all right. It's got those Michael Bay-isms. So I don't know, man. Overall, what do you think, Jelani?
I really didn't want to watch these movies like ever in my life. Like I would have like not lived and not wanted to watch these movies. Like the Bay movies. Why? Why is he making the Transformers?
Money.
Freaking, I know that, but
I get the logic. Transformers made a lot of money, so let's let him do it.
So
right?
let's let him produce it, but make it as bright and have the same music and it's just as lame, and then change so much crap in it for just reasons, and then like the beginning is mostly just exposition dump instead of us just discovering the turtles and like Megan Fox actually doing her job as a reporter instead of just using her cell phone for footage. That would have been cool if she had the film of the turtles and kept it for as long as she could, you know, and try to get it for a story. That would have been nice. That'd been a good character arc for her, and then she realizes these turtles are friends and they save her life and all that shit. I hate this fucking movie, man. Fuck this movie. I give this one like a 1. This is like a 1 you dig. I would give it 0 you digs, but Megan Fox is hot to me. And she still is. And I don't know what it is about that, but that's the only reason I would give this movie anything. It's a 1 on every level. I hate the turtles. I hate their design. The second I saw the design and the way that it's brightly lit, and it's got like lens flares, and it's just Michael Bay all over it, it's just gross. It is awful. It is tasteless. I hate it. I hate the second one, but we're going to talk about that, but I hate it differently. It's just, it's like you could have made just a simple turtle story. I know it's hard to do that this day and age, but Michael Bay has the tools to make it a simple childhood dream that kids can go and watch and enjoy. Just make the Technodrome in the first movie, or a hint to it. Give me the supernatural feeling of it, but keep it grounded. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do any of that. It's just big, dumb, stupid garbage. And it's just out there on the screen.
Gigantic moronic garbage.
Yeah. Gigantic moronic garbage.
So one. Okay.
1. Fuck
what about you,
movie.
Vern?
I'll give it a 1.5, and that's almost all because of Mikey. Like, he's good in this film. I enjoy him. His line when he tells April, "We're gonna come and get you," and then he's like, "No, that was too weird. We're coming to get you." Like, he's great in this movie. I love it. I wish I know who said it, but I was looking in some special features. It was some producer. It wasn't Michael Bay, but they were saying like, we wanted to go for that vibe from the original comics where the turtles were dark, or they were talking about the turtles being dark and badass vigilantes. They're like, so we made them look the way they look. It's like, that's not the way you do it. In the first film, they kind of had that vibe, but they did it with lighting and mood, not just making them look crazy. And I think
terrible.
Brooks, earlier you talked about one of the movies where they seemed like overpowered. I think it was 2. And it's like, they're way overpowered now. It's like, who could ever stop 4 of these freaky 7-foot-tall turtles?
Well, they don't have to get guys to do stunts anymore.
Right.
They just CG
Right.
whatever they want them to do.
Robbie, I'm with you. Megan Fox. I won't say I did. Like, I saw an interview with her. She did that Eli Roth history of horror thing. She's a really smart chick that knows all sorts of stuff about films and horror movies. I found her really interesting. And I don't know the Transformer movie.
Well,
so
she needs
really
to put that
Megan.
shit into action is what I need to say.
She doesn't, though.
She's not a good actress. She's not good. She was bad.
She gets in there for looks.
Bad choice to make her the lead. another bad choice for the voice of Splinter. I don't know why they're not
Tony
comfortable.
Shalhoub?
I will say this, dude. I was doing an impression of a Japanese rat for much of my childhood. Maybe they wanted to avoid that. Maybe they think that's not cool for little white kids to be doing that. I don't know, but that fucks me up hearing it. Like, why can't he just be Japanese? I don't know why they had to connect April O'Neil to the origin. They thought that was going to be cool, and that wasn't cool. But yeah, overall, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's one of the worst turtle movies that they've ever made for sure.
Yeah, they did a better job of like connecting her to the whole experiment and naming the turtles in the IDW book.
Right.
That they did.
I will say the downhill snow down the mountain on the semis, that was pretty cool. And I'll also say this is probably the first action movie in the franchise. Like, I don't think of the other ones as action films as much as they are martial arts films. Like Enter the Dragon isn't an action movie, but
martial arts is a form of action. Come on.
When I think action, I think vehicle chases.
Well, invite me to your Action Fest, Verno. Invite me to your Action Fest.
I think it's a valid point. And I think if you think about it a minute,
you're right. This has been a weak Action Fest. We're gonna make up for it next year. Anyway, Mark, what do you think about? What do you think about? Wow. What do you think about 2014 Turtles?
Invite me to your Action Fest.
I will.
Sorry, made me laugh. Yeah, it was returned to the box office for them. Like, by the way, I looked it up. 13th grossing movie that year. I didn't like this film.
Was this one called Hero Turtles over across the pond?
No, I didn't like. No. All the movies were called the Ninja Turtles. Like, it was just the original 80s cartoon that's called the Turtles. Yeah, I'd give this a 1.5. I'll break it down. Get half a point because Megan Fox is hot. Get another half a point for the lift scene, which I thought was quite funny. And then the other half a point was for Michelangelo. I actually think he was the best of the Turtles. There's so much I didn't like. I do remember, like Robbie said, that they were going to be aliens, but I think there was such uproar. I think they made Michael Bay change that, but because I think people just went nuts all over the internet. It's a good thing they had the internet when these films were made, so at least we got to stop them from doing some damage. It's just so bad overall. CGI, they're just horrible turtles. Why can't they just kept rubber suits? Like, even if 2014, there would have been the technology to have made better rubber suits. It's not horrendous over the top CGI. I just felt like I was just watching. I don't know. I felt like if they'd have made a third one, it would have been Transformers versus the Turtles. I just felt like that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know. It was like literally was like watching Transformers. There's no darkness. There's no mysteriousness. No, actually, I have to give it credit. The first 10-15 minutes when Megan Fox was kind of investigating the city, the Foot Clan, and we saw glimpses of the Turtles flying over. That first 15 minutes could have started a potential good film. Like, unfortunately, they ruined it beyond that first 15 minutes. Whoopi Goldberg, actually, you have to give credit that we had someone who has some acting experience in this franchise. Like,
why the fuck is she in this movie?
At all!
She doesn't need to be in it. But when I saw her in it, I thought, it's incredible acting. What's it? Vern the Falcon, whatever his name is.
Henwick.
Yeah, Henwick. Yeah, I have to say I like him in the Batman Lego movies. Though he is a good Batman.
Okay.
He is a good voice actor. But no, it's just a really, really bad film. And I just felt I was annoyed as well that there was no setup for the second one, considering the direction the second one went. Like, obviously we'll talk about the second one, but like, I just felt like there was this film, and then they made such a jump. I know we all know about the aliens, Krang and stuff, but it was sort of not grounded enough, this film. And then the second one was
at all.
I don't know, it's just really bad all over. Just really bad origin film, really bad script, terrible acting. By the way, Megan Fox, if you go and look up New Girl. She's in about 5 or 6 episodes of New Girl, and she actually is really good in that. I have to give her props to her acting skills in that. She's not great. She's not great in these films. I think, unfortunately, and this is where it comes down to when you're handled by bad directors, producers, writers. She was handled badly. It's a bit like Andrew Garfield when he made the Spider-Man, terrible, but in No Way Home he was actually good. I think she's handled badly by Michael Bay. He's obviously got a thing for her and just sticks her in his films and just doesn't know what actually to do with her. But yeah, no, these are just terrible films. Like, one and a half.
So you didn't like it?
No.
All right.
No.
Well, Joe, I'm curious to know if this is your favorite of all of them. What do you think?
Yeah, I have seen the Michael Bay movies once before. I watched them at the beginning of the pandemic with a buddy of mine. So I knew what I was getting into. That said, this is a miserable garbage film. And I mean, like, I'm glad that we finally introduced fart jokes to the TMNT movies. Pepperoni, like, Jesus, I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, I hate it. One of the redeeming qualities for me was William Fichtner being in this movie. Just because I would just keep imagining him being the bank manager from The Dark Knight. Just every time he shows up, I'm just thinking of him being like, "You have any idea whose bank you're robbing from?" And like stuff like that. Like that helped.
I always think of the undercover cop trying to sell Amway from Go. That's what
He was good in Prison Break. He was good in Prison Break. I don't know if you've seen Prison Break. He's really good in that.
Yeah, I know. This is the thing that kills me about it too, is like the caliber of the cast. If you're comparing it to like the original movies, like it's like, oh, they like spent money and got people who are like, we can talk about the merits of like, is someone a good actor or not, but they got people with a lot of credits who could potentially get asses in the seats or have some gravitas to them.
You trying to tell me Megan Fox is a bigger draw than Corey Feldman?
Possibly. But,
well, yeah. Johnny Knoxville. Weird stretch.
Yeah, but it's like, so they somehow put a movie together with a lot more money and a more star-studded cast with a bigger name producer behind it that is worse than just about everything else that came before it.
Yeah.
It's impressive that it's as much of a failure as it is. Every possible way. So much of the movie, like, this movie was clearly written by a bunch of jackasses because this is it's written like aliens came down to Earth and were trying to write what they thought a movie was. So much of the movie wastes all of our valuable time explaining what the movie is.
Sorry.
Like the so much of the movie is people just being like, blah, 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 blah. This is what's happening. And then another scene where it's like, but then this is where this came from. And another scene of like, but then this, and then you know this guy. And it's like, oh yeah, I know this guy. And then this guy, that, and then he's attached to like the Shredder. Oh, who's the Shredder? Oh, the Shredder is this. And then we were made by this. And oh, you were my pets and I named you. And you're all of that time, you're like, I'm 3/4 of the way through the fucking movie. You spent all of this time telling me what's happening in the movie. Fuck all of you. How could you be that inept at a movie? It's just a movie, and yet you were so inept in every.
Now we understand in TMNT 3 when you were like, well, they made a movie.
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
So I think I also have to give this a 1.5.
All right, 1.5. Okay. What about you, Brooks? I'm sure you got some insight.
It's not good. It's bad. But to be fair, it's a half. It is a very much. It is a half-assed cash grab, basically. It's just like just make a Turtles movie. Who gives a shit, And that's what they did. It does have some of the raw material of the Turtles franchise in it, enough to make it not a total waste. It does have moments, but it's still bad. And I think probably the biggest thing is their whole Splinter and the Turtles weren't they have no relation to any ninjutsu master, no Hamato Yoshi, none of that shit. Splinter finds a fucking how-to book in the sewer, a how-to ninjutsu, and becomes a ninja master so he can train the four ninja babies. I mean, how fucking stupid.
I forgot about that.
We are.
You're right. That's way dumber than him, the little rat, mimicking Hamato Yoshi.
It's a reason for him to have, known ninjutsu.
Right.
This movie is just I found a book, and then I
finds
started
a fucking book.
Around, and I
the book that
you would.
It's the same book you would buy at the Scholastic Fair in 5th fucking grade, man. He's goddamn become a ninjutsu master. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I would give this movie a 2, though. Okay. It is bad, but I think I kind of like the design of the Turtles in this. I like how they made them huge and swole up. I thought that was an interesting, a different way of doing them. But I could see why people wouldn't like it. But I thought it was interesting too. That's another thing like that.
All right. I think I got the highest rating of all of us. I'm going 2.5. I don't think it's a good film at all, but I think it's better than Turtles in Time. Okay, I would rather rewatch this than Turtles. I'm serious as shit, dude. I hate the googly-eyed fucking animatronic fucking turtles going on there. I hate fucking Splinter being stuck in the goddamn train car. I hate the waste of Casey Jones. We'll get to that. but there are things about this movie. There are things about this movie I do kind of like. It was entertaining enough. I don't necessarily ever want to watch it again. And I thought what they did to Shredder was stupid as shit. The Shredder shit. What the fuck is that? Oh, he's got a bunch of fucking knives. He's a Swiss Army knife. You made Shredder a Swiss Army knife? Who gives a shit?
Why?
2.5. All right. Miraculously enough, this movie got a sequel. In 2016, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Jelani, what do you think?
God damn. It's not as bad as that last one we talked about because they heard everybody bitching at them. So they decided at that moment to right the ship. But unfortunately, they have broken and lost all their goodwill with that first piece of crap. That this one would have been is a breath of fresh air. It's actually slightly better. They have a better bond with the brothers. This is the hottest Megan Fox has ever been in film. I enjoy the camaraderie of Vern and how he gets to be the Falcon. I don't know how he uses that as carte blanche in the city, and he gets the key to the city.
Dude.
I love how cool that was. I don't know why. I was just all that bullshit that happened in that first movie where Vern is a piece of shit and all this just weird person, and then now he's taking credit for saving the city from a Swiss Army knife, and it's just so cool for some reason. I like that. I don't know why. And he's the one that helps them out in the end and legitimizes them to the police, which fuck the police and fuck Casey Jones for being the police. It is
just be detective someday.
I want to be detective. Yeah, screw you guys.
But I'm going to be a detective someday.
I mean, it is Stephen Amell.
This is a lifetime. This is a lifetime fucking movie at that point, man.
It just hurts, man, and it makes no sense why what are they? They actually use Bebop and Rocksteady. I like them both. I like Seamus as Rocksteady. I like that guy that's the voice actor all the time. That's Bebop. I love those characters. So I can give it, good marks. It leads to Krang. It makes Shredder's costume is pretty badass in this, and I'm
It
like,
is.
I like how I hate it's left on a cliffhanger because he's frozen at the end, and like the Technodrome, you had to like it had to make itself. I like that whole ticking clock, dynamic of that. The fact that they're working together as a team. I liked that the hoverboard that Michelangelo has. That I love that concept. I like the fact that Donatello is like a super genius. Like I like how he's making vehicles and making, this cutting edge technology. I'm trying to give you the things I like because I want to go back to the really shit I hate, which is the CG. I hate it. I absolutely hated it in the first movie. I hate the look of it. You're doing too many scenes where you could just use lighting to make it look realistic. You have to you got to make it look like these turtles are here. And they fail at that miserably 2 times. I would rather have guys in rubber suits. It would have been a little bit more believable on some level because it's just they look horrible. I hate they wear pants. It just bugged me. I was just like, why are you wearing pants? Why are you wearing pants? What is that thing on your chest? Why do you have bones all over your chest, Leonardo? What the fuck is that? It's just so much work. And I'm like, oh, I like the cartoon that came out in Nickelodeon after that because Raphael has a pet turtle. I thought that was the cutest thing ever. And I thought that this movie should have had that little bit of heart in it, how easily it would have been for one of these characters to have a turtle and give them a character arc. But it's still weak. The story's still flat. It ends on a weird cliffhanger, at least with Shredder. And it sets up Krang and Dimension X, which I really thought were the strong points of the movie. So I'll give this one, for me, I'll give it a 3. I think it's almost getting to the cartoon, but the first movie killed all momentum, and so they made Shredder the villain in this one, and he was a little better.
All right, 3 from Jelani. What about you, Vern?
I'm almost with my man Jelani. I'll give it a strong 2.5 because I did like it quite a bit better than the previous one. And this is yesterday or a couple days ago. This is the first time I'd ever seen it because, like someone mentioned, they killed the momentum. Like after a lot of people saw that first one, like I don't remember the exact numbers, but this one did far worse at the box office. So I think it's better. I think there's a little bit better character work in general. Like there's actually some character work going on with the turtles. Mikey's still funny. I'll second Jelani. Vern's good in this one. Like in the last one, what were we supposed to believe that he was going to hook up with April? Like what was he there for? It was just weird and awkward. But like I say, oh, this is another thing about this era. This goes for both the movies. Like they dropped, and this maybe it was wise, but they dropped the whole like totally awesomeness of it because that was such like a 90s thing, like the Bill and Ted, Wayne and Garth, Beavis and Butthead. Like I guess that was kind of over, but I missed that. That's one of the big things that like they shoehorn in a cowabunga at one point, and it's weird. But the action is good. They look like shit. I'll also second you, like Donatello's cool. There's things about this one that I do like significantly better than the other one. If we did a 2.75, I'd be there, but I'll just leave it at that. I'll give it a very strong 2.5. It's significantly better, but still, I don't know if I would really want to watch it again. Oh, and then Casey Jones. Like, that's a weird thing to put into a movie. Like, how do you get him in a modern movie? Was it worth them trying? I don't think the actor, the Arrow, did a terrible job, but they did a bad job with making it believable that a dude would be wearing a hockey mask and using sports equipment. I think they could have pulled that off. Like, look what the weird shit that they pull off in the comic book movies, the Marvel movies. They could have made that work, but they failed pretty miserably with his believability as a character. Even though I don't think the dude did a terrible job. But 2.5.
All right, 2.5. What about you, Mark?
Can gonna go either way with this movie. Like, what I mean by that is like you can just fully embrace this movie, like, because it throws everything in. Like, they just get everything. The whole kitchen sink, you know, Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, Shredder, the Turtles, April, Casey, it's Joe. It is like literally watching your 80s cartoon show come to life with all of the stupidness of the 80s cartoons in a movie with probably an unlimited budget and a yes man director who probably just said yes Michael Bay. Well, you know, his only big budget movie, Dave Green, and I think that's the only one he's ever done. It's so bad, but like equally it's like so crazy. I'm just watching it. I'm like, I only watched it once and then I watched it on this rewatch. And I just had to switch off my brain. I think that was the only way to describe watching it. And there's like parts of it you enjoy it, and then the same scenes you also think they're also really bad. Like, but that's what I kind of just had to switch off my intelligence to be able to watch this movie. I think that's the only way of getting through it. It's more, it's like a kids movie. And it's like they forgot that actually we're probably the fan base is actually, you know, at that time probably 35 plus, and I don't know. It was not a good movie at all. Like you say, Delaney, Megan Fox still hot. You know, that's obviously going to win. It's going to win male audience points. Michelangelo's still funny here and there. I actually thought Stephen Amell wasn't actually that good. I'll be honest with you. I loved Arrow. I thought he was much stronger in Arrow. I thought his acting was quite weak in this movie. And I thought, again, actually, how do we get Casey Jones in this to make it work? I didn't enjoy how they got him in. It wasn't for me, like making him a copper, and I don't know, not good. And it just got more and more crazy and ridiculous. I did like Shredder's outfit a lot more in this movie though. The first movie, Shredder, it was so bad. Like, I literally could not believe it. It was like, did they just have money they needed to use up, like CGI? Like, you know, if we don't use all the money the studio gave us, they won't give us as much the second time around. Just like make his suit more crazy in the first one. And
nobody cares about a flop. It's like the producers. Is what they're doing here.
Yeah, so I think actually for his suit, I thought it was really cool how toned down it was. That he didn't touch the helmet until towards the end. Disappointing ending for him though, that he just gets frozen and shoved on a shelf. Clearly a lineup for a potential third sequel, which hopefully we'll never see. But what I would say is, if I was to have handled this movie differently, I wouldn't have gone all out. Like, I would have probably toned this down, and I would have set up the aliens for a third film, not shove it all in. You know, you could have had Bebop and Rocksteady. Maybe you could have introduced maybe Shredder wanting to go after some alien stuff that, like, maybe he's talking to somebody and we don't know who it is, and really have some build up and actual some characters development and some story development, and actually then put a proper decent script together and try and tell long form storytelling rather than actually what can we get in here, like how much can we get in here. That's how it felt to me. Like, can we try and tick as many boxes as possible? So yeah, just I can't remember if I gave this a score, but yeah, I'd give this probably a 1 out of 5.
All right. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, this movie also sucks.
It does.
It's nice that we at least get to see some of these other elements, like Krang and Rocksteady and Bebop and Baxter Stockman and characters like that on the big screen. That I appreciate that they were moving stuff forward. They were introducing more of these elements. There were like some weird moments with like Rocksteady and Bebop where I'm like, did a horny furry write this? Because like there were some weird moments where I'm like, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable now. Like, because there's
pants.
Dick jokes for the adults.
Yeah, they were like checking inside each other's pants. They're like groping each other. I'm like, no,
my man.
What is
my man?
What
is they end the movie locked in a box together.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was kind of like, this is making me a little uncomfortable, but yeah, some of the characters get more interesting things to do. It's a mess, but it's a more enjoyable mess than the first movie, which was less of a mess and more just trash thrown everywhere. This was at least like a mess that was almost enjoyable a couple of times. So I think overall, I'd probably give it a 2, you digs.
Okay.
It's a 2. Like I would probably want to watch this again as much as I'd want to watch Turtles 3 again. Maybe slightly more than Turtles 3 again. I'd rather not watch either of them again. But yeah, it's I think it 2. I'm tempted to go 2.5, but I'm like, I don't think it really deserves that. It's like you're enjoyable enough in a few moments, but like
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What about you, Brooks? I'm curious.
It's all right. I mean, it's a checklist movie. Like they're like, okay, so what do we need to like bring people in for this movie? Okay, like check off Bebop, haven't done that yet. Rocksteady, haven't done that yet. Krang, haven't done that yet. And then they just did the same thing as the first one pretty much. But it is better than the first one. I think it is a lot more fun. It does have kind of like a thing where Leonardo's trying to he's trying to cope with being the leader, but he sucks at it. He's bad. The Turtles are, they're pretty fun throughout the most of it, but it's still not great. It's a pretty average action movie, really. And but I wouldn't. I hate to say that it's complete garbage though, because it is definitely better than the first one, and I think it's better than Turtles 3 as well. So that's not nothing. So yeah. 3 digs.
3 digs. All right.
Out of the shadows.
okay.
I think I like these Michael Bay ones a little bit more than y'all. I'm going to give this one 3.5 because I kind of like this one, y'all. Now, I'm going to get this out of the way. That is not Casey fucking Jones.
Oh, he's the worst thing in this movie.
Yeah.
When he goes in the Dean Winters bar, like Dean Winters is like the most incompetent crime bartender. It's like all the dude has to do is like throw some glasses at his bar, and he's like, "Here's the secret to my client."
He's just breaking some bottles. He's like, "I'll give you everything, man. Just like calm down, bro. You're going crazy." But Stephen Amell sucks in this movie, and I don't know if it's his fault, but that's not Casey Jones. Take that
it's
aside.
Like the opposite. They're like, let's take the opposite of Casey Jones and do that instead.
Yeah. Take that out and take out the fact that they completely neuter Shredder at the end of this film, right?
Yes.
I kind of like it because it gets away from April O'Neil. They make Vern actually kind of more comedic in this one, which actually makes sense to me. You use Will Arnett for comedy. It didn't land for me in the first one, but it lands for me here for some reason. It's about the Turtles. They have their own personal struggles with each other. I like that. I like the very distinct personalities of each of the Turtles in this one. I think I love the action. I like the story. I love fucking Tyler fucking Perry as Baxter Stockman, man. Like I do, man. I wish he would have become a fly, but whatever. I love Bebop and Rocksteady. I think it's fine. I enjoy this film. I had fun with it. I was not expecting much at all, but I liked it. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. 3.5 because I laughed out loud for like 5 minutes just seeing dude from the Knicks being like, "No, ref, man, I got pizza on my sneakers." Like, I don't know why, but that just cracks me the fuck up for some reason. And I love seeing the Turtles actually be accepted by somebody, right? And getting to have their moment to come out of the shadows. So I don't know. There you go. All right, that's the show, everybody. We made it through all of these Turtles movies. And if anybody's like, "Man, I never wanted," that was a waste of time. Like, remember, we all volunteered for this. All right. Nobody made us watch these films. Okay. Except for I did kind of make Jelani and Brooks watch them. Anyway. We appreciate everybody being here.
It's
We love
required.
it.
Yeah.
Thus ends ActionFest 2022. But do not fear. We're taking the next 2 Mondays off, but then we kick off Horror Fest 2022. It's the most wonderful time of the year. We got a great banging lineup. That's great. But before all of that, join us Thursday night for the episode review and discussion of She-Hulk episode number 1. Me and the Bad Batch. I'll be live Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. And Dylan's Horror Show on Saturday. We're talking about Nightbreed, Clive Barker's director's cut in particular. But Horror Fest is on the way. We really do appreciate everybody being here. And Jelani, Verno, Mark, Joe, Brooks, Robbie. Hey, thanks. It's been an absolute fantastic time talking about Turtles. And I just want to end it by saying TURTLE power, TURTLE power, TURTLE power, TUR. That whole like, man, dude, man,
And they
I'm not even
fucked up
kidding.
though. They said
Teenage
Raphael
Mutant
was leader in
Ninja
that song.
Turtles.
I'll tell you one time though, man. Y'all know y'all never mind. You know what I'm talking?
Yeah.
One time I got in his car, we were driving, and he was playing Turtle Power. I was like, hell yeah, partners in crime or rhyme or whatever, right? We're listening to it, then it plays again. He goes, yeah, I just listened to this in my car on repeat. Yeah. It's fucked up.
Poor guy.